Hi guys, it's Sarah from Sarah's Tarot, and I am here today to do the tag created by Maureen over at Waves of Your Soul. And that tag is the 54321 Dex tag. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because, as always, there is the plant setup going on behind me, and it's just always so loud and I feel like it's distracting. But this is where I have to record, and I'd rather record than not record, so I'm sorry, but that's just how it's gonna be. So again, I am here today to do the 54321 Dex challenge, or tarot tag, however you'd like to call it, from Maureen over at Waves of Your Soul. She posted this a few weeks ago, and I've seen only a few people do it, so hopefully more people are just prepping their decks and what they want, because it is, how many decks? 15. It is a good amount. It's a lot of prompts. So with that introduction, that long introduction, I will begin. I have the prompt list right here. So to go over it, it is 5 decks to fall in love with, reading cards, 4 that challenge me, good or bad, 3 for recommending to anyone, beginner, advanced, intermediate, professional, 2 who were made for me, and 1 that I can't shut up about. So I will leave this in this corner for anyone who would like to see the prompts, and I will begin with the 5 decks that made me fall in love with reading cards. And for this prompt, I really stuck with the first year of reading tarot that I had. I'm in my 5th year, so in 2020 is when I started reading, and now it is 2025, of course. So I really stuck with the first 20 tarot and oracle decks that I got, because I think I bought 20 in the first year, which is a little crazy, but you know, beginner love. So anyway, with that, I'm actually going to start with the first deck that I ever got, which I'm not sure if I've shown on the channel or not, and that is my Hanson Roberts tarot that I have in this bag from Dani, that I just thought, this was the Essential Tarot kit on Amazon, so I feel like the backs are kind of, they go together in an odd way, because the green and the yellow matches, and the box for this is orange, so I just had to. But this is the Hanson Roberts tarot, and this was the first deck that I ever got. So I can literally picture sitting on my bed or in my crawl space that I had in my room, linking my room to my sister's room. It was really cool. I love that house. But of course, my parents are in the process of selling it. Anyways, sorry. This deck, I have memories of sitting in my crawl space and on my bed doing readings, and I can remember that feeling of oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is a brand new experience that I'm getting into. Just the raw energy, the Ace of Swords going into reading tarot. It was really cool. And I can imagine that in my head. And I remember all of those feelings. And I wish I still got that beginner's joy, which I do get sometimes if I have a strong enough reading. So I do get a little glimpse of that sometimes. But anyway, this is the Hanson Roberts tarot. This was the first deck that I ever got. I actually do not own an RWS deck. This is the closest thing that I have, besides, I'd say, Tarot Collectibles Rider-Waite-Smith clones. So yeah, that is the Hanson Roberts tarot from the Essential Tarot kit that I got on Instagram. The next deck I think I'll do Tarot and then Oracle. So the next deck is the White Sage Tarot, which if you watched my video response to Feeding My Soul 1212, which deck? A deck that wouldn't make my top 10 list was the Black Seed Tarot because of the White Sage Tarot. So let me open this. And the reason I love this deck, a lot of people know this deck, so I won't show many of the cards. But the reason that I love this deck is because of the chakra connection that it has. For those of you who don't know, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this actually. I have the 7 chakras tattooed down my spine, which is one of my favorite tattoos, and I always forget about it, but it's one of my favorites. And I love how in the minor arcana, you can see that the ribbon is green in the 10 of Wands, because the 10 of Wands relates to matters of the heart, which relates to the 4th chakra. So it's just, these cards are amazing. The minor arcana are amazing. The major arcana are beautiful. Like, everything about this deck is just perfect. And I wish I had the full-size version, but I think that's the indie version, or I know that's the indie version, and that was released before I started reading tarot, I believe, so I was not able to obtain it, but maybe one day I will find someone with the full version, or the indie version. So that, once again, is the White Sage Tarot with the chakra cards that I love. So then the next deck, the next tarot deck that made me fall in love with reading cards is the Spacious Tarot, which is another one that a lot of people know and love. This has the expansion pack in it. Oh my gosh, guys, the Tower card is following me, and I can tell you exactly why, but I'm not going to. But I'm fine, don't worry. But I'm just sick of seeing it, if that makes sense. But this is the Spacious Tarot, and I remember getting this deck. This was the 13th tarot deck that I ever got, and I begged my mom to get it for me. This is one of the cards from the expansion pack. So is this one. If you've watched any of Lisa and Dani's most recent videos, they were talking about the Spacious, or Lisa was talking about the Spacious Tarot and how it's a Marchetti deck, I believe is how you pronounce it, or something like that. Once you add in the virtues and the zodiac cards, there's something that has to do with that. I'm honestly not sure, but she did a much better job of explaining it in her most recent video. But yeah, this deck is just absolutely stunning. Like Lisa said, it doesn't feel like an animal deck, even though animals do appear. It just does feel like a very open and wondrous and spacious tarot deck. So this, sorry, back to my original train of thought. Guys, I'm a little high. Back to my original train of thought. I asked my mom to get this deck for me, and she did. And it was the 13th deck I ever got, and I just love it so much. This deck is absolutely stunning. I have to hide the Tower card. I'm sorry, I just hit the camera. I'm gonna move my seat over so that I stop doing that. If you do have the Spacious Tarot and the expansion pack, in case you're interested in this little fun fact, all of the cards will fit in the box, and both of the guidebooks will fit in the little expansion pack box. Sorry, I'm looking at my guidebook shelf to see, but they both fit in there if you still have the expansion pack box. And then, hold on. Oop, I'm sorry to all you. moving my seat over. Okay, there we go. A little better. So this wasn't the first Oracle deck I got. I think it was the second. But it was the first one that I ordered. Just a different one came in first, I think. But regardless, this is the Animal Allies Oracle cards by Jessica Swift, which I did not know that she made like a specific birds one, and I think she's made or is making other specific species of animals Oracle cards, which I think is so cool. I love the guidebook that it comes with because it's just a fold out and it's perfect. So I have both Animal Allies 1 and 2. Uh-oh, can't fold it. I have Animal Allies 1 and 2. So they are mixed together. So some of the animals that are in this deck may actually have come from Animal Allies 2. So I'm sorry, but you would need both of them. But I love the art style of this deck. I love the animals. I haven't used this deck in a really long time, but one of my favorite memories is with this deck was with my sister, who is just starting to get into reading tarot, but this was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I was showing her these cards. She loves alpacas. And she was like, nope, that one's scary. Nope, that one's scary. Oh, I like that one. Nope, that one's scary. It was so funny. Oh, sorry, Talia. My dog is sitting underneath me. Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to stop kicking the camera at some point. I need a better setup, but it's a little difficult with my desk. So, again, sorry. I'll stop doing that. Ducks are her absolute favorite animal in the entire world, so she loved the duck card. But yeah, I love the art style of this deck. I love the keywords and the guidebook because it's so compact. Cows are my favorite, so we're ending there. The guidebook is very compact and has very detailed words, despite it being only like 2 or 3 sentences. I think it works really well. So that is the Animal Allies Oracle cards. And then the 5th deck to make me fall in love with reading tarot is the Embroidered Graveyard Oracle, which I have the version that has I have the darker version, I have the black version. I know that there is a white version also, but this one is what called to me. And this is the deck I usually use in April, around the time when my grandfather passed away, because when he passed away in 2022, this was the deck that I used to cope with his passing, and that I used to kind of bring closure to the whole situation, because unfortunately he was very sick for the last like 3 to 5 years of his life. So this deck helped me a lot with his passing, and I can't even explain like what kind of cards they are. All I can say is that it being named the Embroidered Graveyard, the kind of deck that it is one that helps you communicate with your ancestors. And let's see if I can commune with spirits, goddesses, and guides as you walk through a haunted graveyard brought to life with stitch witchery. Oh right, and this is the same author as the Embroidered Forest Tarot, which is all needlework, I believe, or embroidery, needlework. So this one, this is the grandpa card, so we have to end there. But this deck is just absolutely stunning in its design and its connection with the divine and your ancestors. So that is the Embroidered Graveyard Oracle. The next prompt is 4 decks that challenge me, good or bad. So if they challenge you in a good way, if they challenge you in a poor way. Maureen started with the ones that challenged her in a poor way, which I'm not really sure if any of these do, so I'm just gonna go right into it. This one is in honor of Maureen, actually, a little bit, and that is because this is the Divine Muses Oracle, the L'Édition Française. I took French for, God, 10 years? I don't even know, 8 years. This is the French mass market edition, and I am a little out of it, so I don't think I can speak proper French right now. But this deck is absolutely stunning, and the reason that this deck challenges me is because it's in French, and because I have to go back into that part of my brain that speaks French and translate and be able, to read the guidebook, which is also in French, which is not necessarily a challenge in a bad way. It's just a challenge because sometimes my brain is like, oh goodness, I don't remember this. But as you can see, I'll hold these up a little closer. As you can see, a lot of these keywords are ones that are similar spelling to English, so it's a little bit simpler to translate from French to English if you're reading this. But there are some words, like this word, that you may not know, but mystique, I mean, you can pretty much translate that. So a lot of the keywords are simple to translate, whether you are a native French speaker, a bilingual French speaker, intermediate French speaker like I am. I think I would say I'm intermediate to advanced. I was bilingual, and I've kind of diminished that since school. But yes, this is the Divine Muses Oracle, which challenges me because it's in French, and I just have to go back to that part of my brain that likes to speak French. I love the French language, 100%. It is gorgeous, it is challenging, it is absolutely incredible, and I was able to use it when I went to France a few years ago, which was a very special experience. So yeah, the next deck that challenges me is the Thoth Tarot, which I'm not even going to take out of the box. We can just look at it, because we all know the Thoth Tarot deck. This is, I don't even know, this is an edition from US Games. This is a larger copy of the deck. This my aunt actually got for me, who used to read tarot cards. This was my Christmas gift one year, which this deck is challenging because it's a completely different system that I see as more intense. I feel like a lot of people would describe it as more intense, and I'm sure there are other words to describe it as compared to the RWS system and the Marseille system, but mostly the RWS. So this deck is just challenging in a positive and negative way because it's a different system that I just haven't stepped into yet. And then we have the Poesis Oracle, Poesis. Oh my gosh, I was in school and we were learning about hematopoiesis, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know what that word means. It was crazy. It was funny. So this, I do have the book of poems, but this comes with this little guidebook. Barely a guidebook. It's just an image, and then has some poetry, ways to read the cards, how to use the deck. But a lot of us have this deck. This, I believe someone said that there's a French mass market version of this deck, actually. But this is the English version. And this deck is challenging because it just calls me out. It straight up just calls me out on anything, any point in time that I need to know. It's just like, yeah, you should do this. And the most recent, if you follow me on Instagram, was I was struggling. I don't think I pulled the struggle card, but I pulled choice and practice, and that was a really solid reminder that I have a choice in the things that I do with my spiritual practice. So that was a really incredible reading. So that is the Poesis Oracle. I should have grabbed the Book of Poems, but I don't have that on me, or that ability right now. Excuse me. And then the last deck that challenges me is the Darkwood Tarot. And that is because this is the only deck that I read reversals with. So let's see. There may be... I may have... Nope, there are reversals in it. I'm just going to go through the cards like this because there are reversals. This deck is the only deck that I have reversals in because it's the one that I was learning to read reversals with. I don't typically read with reversals because Sylvie gave a very good explanation of it, that like, or Sylvie from Tarot Magpie, sorry. They said that when they pull a card, it's more of the spectrum of meanings of the card that they're looking at and not just the upright versus the reversed, which we were looking at in our Tarot Lab activity for last month for April, which was reversals, which was a lot of fun. So if you are not part of their Patreon, you should go join because we have a lot of fun over there. Okay, the next prompt is 3 decks that I would recommend to anybody. And I'm thinking if I want to open all of them, but I think I'm going to show 2 at once. I'm going to show the 2 tarot and then I'll show the oracle. So the 2 that I would recommend to anybody, similar art style but different authors. Not similar art style, similar concept because they're both animals inspired by the RWS system. But this is the Alpaca Tarot and this is the Blooming Cat Tarot. And I love these decks so much. The Alpaca Tarot I used for Taurus season along with the Prairie Majesty Oracle, and it was absolutely incredible. And the Blooming Cat Tarot, look at the inside of this box. It's just so incredibly beautiful. But these 2 decks are just so cute. I love alpacas, and I'm starting to love cats more and more every day because my sister has a blue Russian named Bean Fettuccine Thundercloud. That is his full name. And he is getting a sister named Tofu Tortellini. And I don't think there is a third name, but that's to be decided. But anyway, these decks are just absolutely stunning. They're so cute. They're so RWS inspired that anybody, I truly believe anybody could pick up these decks and have a good intuitive understanding of what's going on. Like, if you, I'm gonna go to the next one. If you didn't know tarot, 3 of Swords, this is a very traditional meaning for RWS. You can see heartbreak, you can see the 3 swords in the heart, feeling pain and feeling grief and all that. And the Knight of Wands, you can see this cat looks very confident and looks determined to be going on an adventure and doing something adventurous and exciting. So, I mean, you could, those were very basic, but you can get a lot of meaning out of just looking at the cards, even without knowing the definition of tarot of those cards. So, these Oh my gosh. This is my favorite card in the entire deck because the alpacas have puppies. That's like the cutest fucking thing ever. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. And the Two of Cups is the card of my boyfriend and I's relationship. So, I mean, like, obviously that's what you would hope a relationship would be defined as. But every time I would do a reading about him with my Shadowscapes Tarot, which you guys know is my ride or die, like, I would pull the Two of Cups and that would be that. So, the third deck that I would recommend to anybody would be the Reclaim Oracle. And this is the most recent edition from Kickstarter, which I was so honored to have arrive super early in the shipping process. It literally just showed up and I was so happy. And I've done a few projects with it. Like intense, personal, introspective, and this deck is just amazing. For those of you who don't know, this deck is basically a deck of feelings. Oh my gosh, this deck also goes so well with the Cosmic Visions Tarot, if you have it. Sorry, little interjection. But I digress. These cards are just beautiful. They're beautifully designed. They're beautifully keyworded. And it comes with this guidebook that has pictures and goes into 2 paragraphs for each card, and it's just absolutely fantastic to do intrapersonal child work, to just reflect on how you're feeling. I've pulled these when I'm anxious and they've just been like, you need closure on why you're anxious. It's just perfect. Okay, moving on to the 2 decks that were made for me. I think I'll show these together. I did 1 tarot and 1 oracle. And these decks are the Tarot of the Huntress and the Metaphysical Cannabis Oracle, because if you guys did not know, I am a true believer in the healing properties of cannabis, and I do have a medical card. So, well, actually I have 2 medical cards, but regardless, I am a firm believer that this helps me be able to cope with my anxiety and my depression and my spiritual side, and not cope with my spiritual side, but develop my spiritual side. So, I'm not sure a lot of people have actually seen this deck, so I'm going to go into this one first. And I'll leave the Tarot of the Huntress over here. We'll get into her in a minute. But this is one of the Liminal 11, the Sterling Ethos. Is it a Liminal? Yeah, sorry, it is Liminal 11. But this deck is basically ancestors and other divine energies that all have a keyword at the bottom. Sorry, I'm trying my best to describe this deck, but I've never had to describe it before. It's interesting. So like highest self, essence, initiation, accountability, ego death, silicon, starseed, and each one has like an energy, a type of energy, and then a keyword. Some of them are gods and goddesses, some of them are muses, some of them are just keywords. And I love this deck. I love weed. There's not much more to it. I mean, I say that. I am 22, so I go back and forth between like, is this because I believe in it spiritually, or is this because I'm 22 and in college and living my life? Like, I go back and forth, and I truly do believe that it is the spiritual and medical properties that I am drawn to, not just because of the hype and like the people around me in college and being in college. So that is the Metaphysical Cannabis Oracle, which I feel was made for me because I love the healing properties of cannabis, and it's simple as that. I even love the box for it. I know not a lot of people are a fan of it, but I do really enjoy this. It's fun, especially when you're not with it. And then the Tarot of the Huntress is the second deck that I chose for 2 decks that were made for me, because I have been drawn to the spirit of Artemis since I was like 7 years old doing archery at sleepaway camp. As soon as I learned about Greek mythology, I was like, this is my girl. This is my signifier card. That's why she's on top. This is my girl. This is my guide. This is who I can connect to and who I see myself as. Not necessarily in the romantic aspect, because if you're familiar with Greek mythology, you know that Artemis did not take a suitor and was more of a lone wolf, for lack of better terms, and for pun intended. But besides that, I do think that this deck was made for me because I literally screamed when I saw that Kara was making an Artemis inspired deck, an Artemis attributed deck. So this deck was made for me. Artemis was made for me because of that archery connection and the connection to the moon, and just everything that she believes in and stands for was important to me ever since a young age. And I'm going to shameless plug the lady who made my little altar table that I have that I've posted before. She has done an incredible job and is an incredible painter who makes these incredible pieces. Oh my gosh. On Facebook, it's at Wooden Shoe Whimsy. Her name is Brandy, or their name is Brandy. I'm not sure which pronouns they go by, so I will use they from here on out. I love them so much. So talented. I'm going to pick up my table that I got and my tarot mat in a few weeks. So if you need like a table, a shelf, candle holders, if you want just little trinkets, go check them out. Again, Wooden Shoe Whimsy on Facebook. If I do one link, it will be Brandy's stuff. So I will try to do that. And then the last prompt is a deck that I can't shut up about. And I really haven't shut up about this deck to the creator of the deck. I talked to her. Why is my camera shaking? I didn't even touch it. I talk to her all the time. Not all the time. Like every few weeks, because this deck is just incredible. And that is the Anatomy of Healing by Frances Lar. If that's you pronounce her last name. And I just got the hiccups. When I got this deck, I was going through a really tough time, and I'm not sure if she sent these to everybody or not, and you can tell me or not tell me if you have this deck, if you got a note also, but it says, I'm pretty sure this found you at the right time, and it was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. This is the book. The deck is in a bag to my side, but it goes into, sorry, I've never actually opened the guidebook before. It goes into spreads, and it's a deck about the healing properties of different parts of our bodies. And as a medical lab science major, it's in my alpaca tarot bag because that's just the only thing I had available. I'm not going to show that card because that is a little inappropriate and I don't want to get flagged. But this artwork is absolutely stunning, and the deck is different body parts. Sorry, as an MLS, as a medical lab scientist, as a medical lab science major, that is what I want to do as my career. This deck is incredible because it goes into detail about different body parts and different like glands, like the thymus glands. You have the lymph nodes, you have different organs, you have the spine, you have bones, you have veins. This card is the vulva. I don't want to get flagged for it. Everything is just so incredible, and I can make that connection between the cards and what I'm learning. So this deck is just absolutely the coolest thing, and I will not shut up about it. I tell Fran all the time that I'm using it and that it's been super duper helpful. Yeah, I love this deck. I absolutely love this deck. And this is my, as Sylvie calls it, their daily monthly daily, the deck that they use for their daily pull for each month. This is mine for Gemini season, along with a Greek mythology tarot deck. So I won't go through all. We'll end on genitals because, you know, gotta love that. So that, we'll end on the oh god, the one word I can't pronounce. The duodenum. Sorry, total brain fart on how to pronounce that. We will end on this card. And that, my friends, is my response to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 Dex tarot tag that Maureen created. So thank you for watching if you have made it this far. I will go over the prompts one more time in case you're interested. They are 5 decks to fall in love with reading cards, 4 that challenge me for good or for bad, 3 for recommending to anyone, beginner, advanced, intermediate, professional, etc., 2 decks who were made for me, and 1 deck that I can't shut up about. And I will see you the next time I decide to make a video.